Uh, Listen, you can line up 100 different experts and you're going to get several different answers. I look at the data. I look at where we're at currently in Ontario. Clearly, we're in a much, much, much better place now than we were 1 and 2 months ago. But there's still a fair bit of Omicron in the province. I think it's reasonable to keep this mask mandate, at least for the time being, reevaluate it week by week. There certainly will be a time and place to lift this. I just think it's a little bit too soon. We've seen hospitalizations decline significantly, but they've actually plateaued in recent days. You'd want to see a steady decline before you start to lift that. I'd give it a few more weeks after the March break, evaluate it week by week, and then lift it if you continuously see a decline.
Carl, was it political timing?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think the weather's getting nicer. I think people are exhausted, and the timing with March break, and of course, June 2nd is right around the corner. So I wouldn't be surprised if those are all elements in making this decision.
He was asked about that, Annie. Was this political pressure on Dr. Kieran Moore? And he said, no, it was all medical. Do you buy that?
I mean, you have to kind of look at the timing, right? As Colin was talking about, the election in Ontario is not that far away, with the writ dropping May 4th. And these steps, including the removal of vaccine passports, the removal of all restrictions, is just, about a week or two before that writ drops in May. So one does have to question whether this was politically motivated. I think it's also interesting that the Ontario Health Minister isn't running again. You also look at Kieran Moore, who said he would continue to wear a mask. You're hearing, the head of the science table saying that it's too early. So there are going to be a lot of people who vote against Doug Ford for this. You're already seeing people on Twitter saying they will be wearing their mask to the polling station in June. You hear a lot of people who say this is too early, that it's only being done by politics. So there is that contingent who says they will vote against Doug Ford because of the way that he's handled this. But then you also have those who say, absolutely, it's time, that they're tired of it. They don't believe COVID is as big of a threat as it was previously. And there are those also who are questioning whether this is, again, an example or a potential example of Doug Ford sort of pandering to the further right wing or the right wing core of his party. So was this political? We don't know for sure. There are those who are going to say yes. There are those who will say absolutely not. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens at the polls in June.
But it's mixed message, Dr. Bogoch. Dr. Kieran Moore was asked by CTV's Colin DeMello, are you going to keep wearing your mask as volunteer? He said, yes. Dr. Peter Uni, as Annie just points out, the head of the science table, it's too early. You who are on the science table, it's too early. Who do people trust if the doctors are saying it's too early and the premier is saying, no, it's not?
This has been an issue from day one with the pandemic, and it hasn't been restricted to masks. We could discuss other public health measures. We could discuss how there's been mixed messaging and different, pundits describing different opinions with vaccines, you name it. Masks, of course, is one of the more obvious ones because it's been so polarizing. But you know what? It is fair to say that even in the medical profession, we certainly have some physicians and some public health specialists saying, yeah, it is time to lift mask mandates, and many others saying no. I'm obviously in the camp that says we should keep them a little bit longer. But, it's not unusual in medicine and in science for multiple people to look at the same data and come to different conclusions.